Pleasure you could stay on. I am Pius Kojo-Baka, and we want to begin from the central bank because the match talked about Bank of Ghana gold coins has finally gone on sale. You would need at least 11,188 cedis to get a quarter ounce. George Yafe has the rest of the story.
Sale after the Bank of Ghana started publishing the price guideline for the product earlier this week. Based on this development, anyone can walk to his or her bank and make their request to own some of these gold coins. However, the purchase can be made only through one's account or mobile money. When the request is made, the commercial bank in question will then place a request with the central bank. Now, based on the guidelines, a quarter of an ounce of the Ghana gold coin is being sold at 11,108 Ghana cedis. Half of an ounce of the Ghana gold coin is going for 22,409 Ghana cedis, whilst an ounce of the Ghana gold coin is being sold at 45,000 Ghana cedis. However, this price will not be static as it's subject to change every day. Now, this because the pricing will be based on the closing dollar price at the London LBMA platform for the auction of gold bars and coins in that country. The Ghana gold coin is said to be manufactured from pure gold and is up to 99.99% purity. The Bank of Ghana earlier this year launched the Ghana gold coin, insisting it is part of efforts to mop up excess liquidity to help control inflation as well as serve as an alternate investment avenue for Ghanaians.
But how is this going to help mop up excess liquidity in the market? And of course, how would this also strengthen the gains of the cedi? Let's get some answers for you. Joining us via Zoom is Professor Elikpeme Komla Abloyo, a senior lecturer at the finance at the University of Ghana Business School. Thanks so much, sir, for joining us here on Business Live. And we are learning Ghana gold coins has finally gone on sale, and you need at least 11,188 cedis to get a quarter ounce. I don't know whether you want to do that, but do you believe it's one of the effective ways to mop up excess liquidity in the market?
Okay, good evening, Pius, and good evening to your listeners and viewers. So permit me as an academic to explain a few things, and then I'll answer your question directly. So just give me a few minutes to do this. So first of all, it's important to understand the role of gold in an investment portfolio. And typically for an investment portfolio, gold serves as a shock absorber, right? The reason being that we regard gold as a safe haven asset. That is, investors actually run to gold or buy gold during crisis periods. So during crisis periods, when other asset prices are falling, like stock prices, like bond prices, etc., gold prices actually increase. Okay, so it's one of the free lunches we have in finance, i.e. diversification, where you can actually reduce your risk without compromising return. Okay, and historically, gold has had a negative or low correlation with other asset classes, i.e., like I mentioned earlier, when other asset prices are falling, gold prices actually increase. So they move in opposite directions. Okay. Now, consequently, it makes sense to add gold to your portfolio because it provides stability to the portfolio. In periods of crisis, when you are losing money on other assets, gold actually gives you a positive return. Given that that is the case, usually investors may actually be willing to pay to hold gold rather than be paid. And that's quite interesting, i.e., investors don't mind incurring a negative loss on gold because they understand its value. Its value is to contribute to portfolio stability during crisis periods. Now, let me come to your question. Is this the best time to introduce such an asset, and what is its impact on the value of the cedi? I'm not sure it's actually the best time, given what we call investor psychology. A lot of investors bought gold in gold from the number one company, and most of them lost their money. Those were ill-advised investments anyway, but people may not understand the difference between so investor education is actually important here. People may not understand the difference between what they invested in terms of buying gold from number one in quotes and buying this that has been introduced by the Bank of Ghana. Okay, so I'm not sure it's actually the best time to introduce it because the investor psychology may not be receptive at this time. Now, number two, in terms of how I may have done this, I would have probably done an ETF rather than a physical gold. And an ETF is an exchange traded fund,
okay,
where you are still getting exposure to gold, but you actually don't hold the physical gold. It's a security that is based on gold. Okay, and that provides many of the advantages like liquidity that this coin will provide. One of the disadvantages of holding this coin is that even though you can still store it or keep it with the bank, there's a risk of loss. And sometimes people may buy this as investments, keep it at home, and they may pass away without their family members knowing where this is. Now, let me also give you some additional data in terms of the returns of gold over the past 10 years. So this is based on research that we did at Tesla Capital. So between 2014 and today, gold prices increased, right? And if you had purchased 1 ounce of gold in 2014, the price was about $1,200 thereabout. Now, 2024, gold prices were about $2,500. In terms of CD returns, that's actually quite outstanding. If you had bought gold in 2014, today you'd have made about 1,300% returns in CD terms. In dollar terms, you'd have actually made about 114% returns. So this is a good asset from a theoretical standpoint. It's a good asset to add to your portfolio. But the question is are investors ready now to hold physical gold? Now, if you are buying gold, it gives indirect exposure to the dollar.
Okay.
Yeah, it gives indirect exposure to the dollar, like I just explained.
All right.
So instead of buying dollars, investors could actually purchase this investment and still get some exposure to the dollar. But the key thing is, will it really affect the value of the CD?
Exactly.
I don't think we know at this stage because we don't know the volumes that may be involved. Will investors actually be receptive and hold large volumes of this investment? If they do, then it will reduce pressure on the CD. If not, it may not have any significant effect.
But is this sustainable, really, do you think?
I think we'd have to wait and see. I mean, we can make predictions, but the future would make things clear. Maybe a year from now, we'll actually know how the investment has performed, what percentage of the population actually purchased it, and how has it affected our currency. But for now, I think it's early days yet. My personal view is that I don't see a lot of people buying it, again, given the cost, right? 1 ounce is going for about 45,000 cedis. I'm not sure if a lot of people have that kind of money to invest.
And the quarter is going for over 11,000, which I asked whether you'll be able to go for one.
Exactly.
Will you?
Yeah.
But in all of this, we are learning that total value of loans granted by financial institutions for the third quarter for this year, based on assets submitted with the collateral registry, went up marginally. Not surprising, do you think?
Well, I guess it's not surprising given the current economic situation. The economy is still very struggling. There is some recovery, but we are still struggling. And consequently, you will see that the volumes did not increase much. What I found interesting was the composition of the collateral, right? In terms of the banks or specialized deposits taking institutions. You would notice that the share of banks actually came down, whilst the share of rural banks went up. And rural banks and savings and loans actually went up. So I found that to be quite interesting. Banks are shifting away from immovable properties, like let's say a house as collateral. They're relying more now on securities like treasury bills, bonds, etc., to take as collateral for loans. So probably going forward, if the economy is to recover, we should see a significant increase in loans being backed by collateral.
All right. Professor Elukweme Abloye, thanks so much for your input at this very moment. We truly appreciate it, sir. Let's shift focus to some other stories. The Ghana Mine Workers Union of the Trades Union Congress has called on President Akufo-Addo to ensure the reviewed Labour Act is passed into law before he leaves office on January 7, 2025. During the second half National Executive Council meeting here in Accra, the union's leadership emphasized the urgency of addressing long-standing challenges faced by workers in Ghana. General Secretary of the union, Abdul Mumin Bana, said the law which seeks the welfare of workers must be assented to immediately.
At the forefront of advocacy in the past 5 years or more. And all we are saying is that the ills in the labor market of Ghana have reached, very unimaginable proportions. And the point remains that the current labor law is not serving our interest. It's not serving the interest of the ordinary Ghanaian worker. Today, there is so much exposure. Workers no longer have the right to exercise their freedom of association and collective bargaining. Employment has been decimated to a level where today, all you can get in the mining industry is a 1-year contract, a 2-year contract renewable. And it's not as if it's just in the mining industry. It's characteristic of the entire Ghanaian labor market. In the banks, you have same there. And so what we are saying is that the current Labor Act gives some level of flexibility, the laxity with which employers approach matters to do with employment are virtually exposing us as workers. And it is important that legislation is tightened so that it offers the right protections to our members and by extension the entire Ghanaian workers. So we are calling on the President to keep his promise. He made the promise in 2023 during the May Day celebration. He repeated it this year during the May Day celebration. He made a commitment to ensure that he passes the new labor bill into law before he leaves office. I must recognize that we have done a lot of work. We have worked with his Minister for Labor and Employment, and we are at a point where we believe the bill as it stands is quite comfortable. And so Cabinet should be able to pass it on to Parliament for the needed steps to be taken to ensure the new labor bill is brought into, is passed.
Achieving Ghana's climate goals requires substantial funding. While $15 billion is needed, only 5% is currently secured with private financing, contributing a mere 13%. Speaking at the launch of the Green Finance Facilitator Program, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Association of Banks, John Ewuah, called for collaborations to enhance access to green finance for bankable projects for Ghanaian businesses. He spoke at the launch of the Green Finance Facilitator Program here in Accra.
Ghana is making significant strides in its journey towards a sustainable and climate-resilient economy. However, only 5% of the $15 billion required for this transition has been secured, with the private sector contributing a modest 13% of this amount. Speaking at the launch of the Green Finance Facilitator Program, the CEO of the Ghana Bankers Association, John Ewuah, emphasized the critical role banks play in this process.
We believe that green finance is not just a niche or a trend, but a core pillar of a resilient and forward-looking financial ecosystem. As custodians of financial resources, banks are uniquely positioned to serve as catalysts for sustainable development. It is therefore not by accident that we wholeheartedly welcome initiatives like the GFF, which will help de-risk green projects and create bankable opportunities that align with the strategic priorities of financial institutions.
Albert Boateng, team lead of the Green Finance Facilitator Program, provided further insight into the initiative.
Financial institutions have a mandate to lend or to provide capital to businesses. Now they have a certain return expectations, okay? For those that are investing debts or providing loans, they want to be able to recover their monies by way of repayment. For those that are investing equity, they have a return expectation. They want to be sure that at least the business earns a certain returns that meets their expectation. Our job is to make sure that the projects that we present to them meet these expectations. So we are not obliged just by virtue of somebody applying to the program to present them. We work to make sure that these criteria as set by these institutions can be met. And for which reason, when we do present them, it's just a question of, do we like this project? Do they meet our expectations? At that point, they'll make a decision whether to proceed or not.
Head of program at GIZ, Dr. Chris Jan, highlighted the viability of green businesses.
Well, the outcome of this initiative is actually to contribute also more to climate adaptation and mitigation. So this is actually where the program that is supported through the German government is aiming at, to contribute here to fight the effect of climate change, basically. That is for us the outcome. But at the same time, it also shows that how a green business can be a viable business, meaning it is good for the companies as well, but it is also good for the environment.
The Green Finance Facilitator Program, organized by GIZ and the German Corporation, aims to support the development of green businesses in Ghana.
You're still watching Business Life. We are back with the Joy Business Life for today. I am Pius Kojobaka.